In this Content Builder tutorial video, we're going to talk about margins and padding. Thrive Content Builder gives you complete control over where you want your elements to be displayed. For instance, if I have two content boxes here, let's say I wanted to increase the distance between the top content box and the bottom content box. What I could do is I could click the top content box, come to where it says margin and padding. On the margin settings I could change. So I'll change the bottom to 20 pixels, and as you see, the distance is increased. If I change to 30, it will increase again. If I want to reset to default, I can just click clear margin and it goes back to normal. That's one way in which you can make sure your content is displayed correctly. You'll find this margin option on all of the elements. For instance, here we have a star rating element. If I click on that, here we also have the margin and padding. So again, I can make sure the element sits on the page just how I like it. As another example, if I choose a button here, I can click on the button, margin and padding, and change the margin to 15 pixels, for instance. What you should also know too is that you can set negative margins. Let me give you an example of why this might be useful. Let's say you have two content boxes here, and you wanted the bottom content box to sit flush with the top content box. What you would do is click on the top content box, come to where it says margin and padding, and select the bottom margin to -20. -20 is the distance between the two content boxes in this instance. I can save that and I can preview it, and you'll see they're pretty much sitting flush. I could even modify it a little bit more so you don't see any difference between the two content boxes. So now we have two content boxes that sit absolutely flush on the page. And then you may want to, for instance, change the color of the second one, and you have an interesting little effect here whereby you've created a nice collage of colors. I'm going to change that to -22, and there you go, you have your content boxes sitting flush on top of each other. And I want to demonstrate to you the difference between padding and margins. Margins are the external differences between elements. So for instance, if I change the margin of this as before, you'll notice that the element beneath has moved down quite significantly. That's because it's an external margin, this distance here. If I change this to padding, let's say I put 50 pixels on padding, you'll notice that it changes this distance inside the element. So it's the distance between the outer border of the element and the text that's inside. So you should consider margin and padding as being external and internal settings. Here's another example. If I have a content box in my page, and let's say I add a button to the content box. Let's make that a silver button, and I put this in the center. Let's say I wanted a bigger distance between the top and bottom of this button. I can come to the margin and I can change the top to 30 and the bottom to 30. Now let's also say that I wanted to make the padding between the text inside and the outer edge bigger. I'll come to where it says margin and padding, I'll change 50 and 50. So now I have a much bigger button because I've changed the padding there. I can come back in, I can set that back to default, I can change the padding of the right and left margin too. So you can have complete control over how you want your elements to look. As I said before, margin and padding settings are available on all elements, giving you complete control over the distance between other elements. This is just one way in which you can modify the default styles and elements that come with the Content Builder to suit your individual needs.